Think that both from a commercial point of view of the cinema industry, film industry, and the consumer behavior, theatrical is here to stay. We just have to go through this very challenging, trying period when we are locked down because there is no cash flow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bijli, for joining today. For all of us in this country, the multiplex experience on what it means, the joy of experiencing, and also for someone like me, like going to Priya in Delhi and then PVR. First time we all experienced it was through PVR, and we all have heard of you, read of you, followed you, and it's a privilege to be talking to you because early 90s you brought this experience to the country. You're an entrepreneur who's built the experience which millions of us cherish. But today we are talking, unfortunately today we are talking to you in not one of the best of times for cinema industry, but a great honor speaking to you. And thank you for joining and having this conversation. Before the lockdown happened, people had stopped going to cinema halls. What is it meaning right now? How are you seeing the space as of now?
First of all, thank you very much for all the generous, such a generous introduction to me and PVR the brand. And thank you for patronizing the cinema. Of course, this is totally, Shraddha, unprecedented. I mean, these words have become very common in everybody's language now. Extraordinary, unprecedented, never before. So I think nobody has ever experienced anything like this. And even we were taken aback. I've always believed in core competence, doing one thing and doing it very, very well. Not just in business. I'm always fascinated by people like, whether it's Michael Jordan, whether it's Sachin Tendulkar, or it's, an author or an actor or anybody who's exceeded in doing one thing and excelled. So that's how I always believed in the theory of core competence, but never really realized that if you only do one thing only and you don't have a diversified portfolio, suddenly if that one thing gets impacted like this, the way it has got, all the 9 pins come falling down straight away, or rather 10 pins come falling down straight away. So it's a very challenging time, but as I said, I draw solace from the fact that luckily, fortunately, my family is fine. My all the near and dear ones, my friends, everybody's fine. So that's the most important thing. My heart goes out, of course, for people who are losing their lives, families who've lost their loved ones. But as far as my view is slightly more broader and not that myopic only about my own business. But in our own business, there's no doubt about the fact that we are a confined space, and we were the first ones to have been asked to close down, and probably will be the last ones, along with maybe restaurants and food courts in the malls, that will be asked to open. Having said that, I do believe that in the Indian moviegoer a lot. So two engines which has kept this business alive for the longest time. One is the film industry, and international and Indian. Indian, of course, represents about 90% of box office. So 1,500 films roughly go through the system. So the Indian film industry is relentless in creating content. We are also very happy that they're happy to still create content for the big screen. They do believe in theatrical. On the other hand, in the Indian consumer, who 1.45 billion tickets get sold annually. So I think this is an aberration. There is going to be trepidation. There is going to be circumspection. But I do believe that once the curve is flattened, vaccine has come, we take a lot of measures at the cinema to build, customer confidence, customer trust. They feel secure and safe, and we play brand new movies. I think people will come back and they'll bounce back. So we just have to go through this very challenging, trying period when we are locked down, where we have to manage our cash flows very well because there is no cash flow.
So there wouldn't be any cash coming, right, for the last 2 months at least?
Yeah, I mean, March 11th or something, we shut down in a staggered manner because certain states took the call first, and then followed by all the other states. So the absolutely revenues are zero. So as a businessman, you can forecast for volatility, or you can allow for volatility that maybe this quarter the movies will not be good, and therefore you will have some dip in your footfalls and business. But you never ever, no businessman ever that I know of, doesn't matter which industry, allows for forecast for zero revenues.
Yeah.
So that is what it is. It's challenging times, no doubt.
In the COVID and post-COVID world, how do you see the growth of this market? And especially, I want to come to the question of OTTs, right? Today, they are becoming a significant part of a lot of your audience, the multiplex audience, right?
Yeah.
So this growth, OTT growth, how do you make sense of it?
Well, if you hadn't asked me the question of OTT, I would have brought it up anyway. One leg of our business, I've already explained, is in the film industry, the content side. And the other side is the construction side, which is the real estate side. So most of the cinemas, 90% of the cinemas are in shopping centers and malls. So I think construction activity is going to get impacted. We had the highest screen opening last year. We already opened 87 and 13 screens were ready, and we would have crossed the 100 mark by March 31st this year. We were very determined. That was an internal goal to do that. So those screens will open as soon as we open, and we still have about 80 odd screens under fit out, where 60 to 70% of the work is still finished. So similarly, those will open again in the next maybe 11, 12 months. Then there are other players, Inox, Cinepolis, various other, who would be at some stage of construction. So I think people who are already under fit out, they will probably finish their work if they've already finished. So about maybe another 150 to 200 screens will get added this year. When I say this year, means 2021 March. But after that, it all depends on how quickly the economy bounces back. Because the real estate developers have to build their malls. You can't even be in a mall, which is say 500,000 square feet or 1 million square feet, only on the top floor, and the rest of the mall being a ghost town. So you don't even want that to happen. So the real estate industry has to pick up, the retail industry has to pick up, because the retail industry also has to have the fire in the belly and actually some fuel power to grow their outlets. So, whether it is food outlets or it is supermarkets or it's hypermarkets or retail department stores, everybody has to have the appetite to grow. I suspect that the kind of growth that we were achieving is going to get impacted for sure. So we'll not be able to reach the number that you're talking about, but it will be a short-term phenomena, because even the real estate developers, you have DLF, you have Phoenix, you have Oberoi Realty, you have Prestige. You have lots of developers who are there who have the firepower to start building the malls again, and they will not abandon their projects like that. But they will be slow growth rate. As far as OTT is concerned, OTT has been around for a long time, and OTT is another form of in-home entertainment. So in-home entertainment has taken lots of forms right from the inception of cinemas. First TVs came and people thought people won't go to the cinemas. Then, VHS came, Beta came, DVDs came, streaming services have now started. So it's not a new phenomenon. Broadcasters had so many channels. So a lot of things have happened in the inside home situation. But this is, of course, the consumption of OTT platforms has exponentially grown. Obviously, you look at the subscriber base of Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hotstar, they've all gone up exponentially. Disney has come in, HBO has come in. So all this has increased exponentially because there is no choice. People can't go out, and therefore they have to consume content inside. But I believe that we are all designed and created to go out. Just now in this 7-8 week period, also people are very restless. And our bulk of our audience is really the youngsters. And 70% of our audiences in India are about 12 to 34 is the bulk of the consumer, they say. They're resilient. They want to get out. They don't want to be staying at home. Obviously, once the lockdown measures get relaxed, the government feels a curve has got flattened. Even after that, when the vaccination or vaccine comes, I think when people feel that there is something to protect them medically, I think they'll bounce back. So one is I have a belief in the Indian consumer a lot, that they would love to see their movies on the big screen. And out of home entertainment, cinemas is still a very small ticket item. A lot of other discretionary spends get impacted during recessionary times. You've got airlines, ticketing, holidays, buying cars, buying luxury goods or even premium goods. All those things people defer, but they do not defer a 200 rupee entertainment option. So the average ticket price of PVR itself is 200 rupees if you take across the entire 850 odd screens. But if you look at the India average of 9,000 screens, it's not even 100. It is sub 100. It is 75,
Yeah.
80. So I think people say for 3 hours, I can have that escapism. So all during recessionary times after 1930 depression, the Spanish flu, so many World War I, World War II, all the time, one thing which has always got picked up has been cinema business. So I do believe that long form storytelling, which is your TV series, which are happening, whether it is Money Heist or whether it is Sacred Games or various other TV programs which are coming. I think Netflixes of the world and OTT platform of the world will do a good job, have been doing a great job, and will continue to do a good job. Short form storytelling, which is getting a quick movie experience on the big screen. So when your Suryavanshi comes tomorrow, or 83 comes tomorrow, Wonder Woman is coming, or a Top Gun is coming this year, and James Bond is coming this year, and Tenet is coming. Christopher Nolan has announced that regardless of all that is happening in the world, he will release on July 17th Tenet, which is a big movie. So people will get out. So that's the consumer side. On the film industry side, 60% of the revenues, in fact, it's more, around 74% of the revenues of a film still come from theatrical. So last 2 to 3 years have proved that a movie doesn't have to be a blockbuster movie. It doesn't have to be a movie which is a very high budget film, which has got a Salman or an Amir or a Akshay or a Shritik. It can be even a movie like a smaller film like Ayushmann Khurrana's films that came, Rajkumar Rao's movies that came. Razi was a small film. Andhadhun was a small when I say budget wise.
Yeah.
Okay, and production values. But the kind of business that they did was a lot. So I think even the film industry cannot leave all that on the table. And the monetization life cycle of a film is much better if you go through the normal windows, which is you release it theatrically first, then you release it on OTT, and then you release it on the broadcasters. So I think you have 3 to 4 opportunities to monetize the content that you get created. And the harbinger, the bellwether of deciding the movie, that how good a movie is critically and commercially, is always theatrical.
Yeah.
So once the consumer gives the verdict that theatrically, I love the movie, it did well, plus it got some acclaim, then actually people's appetite to watch movies. So for example, if I'm surfing through Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything, if I know, like for example, I didn't see Kabir Singh. I missed it when it came on the theater. I missed Badla. I missed a couple of very nice movies, which were critically acclaimed, as well as they got great box office results as well. So straight away, my mind went to Kabir Singh. Oh yeah, I got to watch that movie. It did very well. So I think that's how an average consumer is as well. If he knows theatrically the movie did well, it knows it's a high quality content, and they will watch it even on OTT. So I think that both from a commercial point of view of the cinema industry, film industry, and the consumer behavior, I believe that theatrical is here to stay.
Because I saw this press release from Multiplex Association of India urging the producers that don't release your movies on OTT. Don't you think that the balance of power will shift than what it was and what it has been till now?
I think 10 weeks of a lockdown, or whatever the number eventually is going to be, I don't think can change the innate human nature of going out at all. As I said, all of us are so restless to step out. So I think the consumer has been, obviously he doesn't have a choice. He is indoors. He's under a very strict lockdown. He has no choice but to entertain himself on the OTT platform. So this is a very, very good period for the OTT platforms. But I do believe that the consumer is not going to be incarcerated at home and not go out at all. I mean, it is against, it's contrarian to human nature. That's what I'm banking on. and it has happened earlier also. And I'm very confident. I'm also confident because a lot of surveys have been done in China. A lot of surveys have been done in UK and other countries where they have actually asked the consumers that when the cinemas open, would they like to come out? So if certain safety, security, sanitization, cleanliness, hygiene factors, some social distancing issues are taken care of, and the movies are brand new, at least 75 to 80% of the people who were interviewed said that we would love to go back and watch movies. So I think so I don't think there is any balance of power shifting anywhere. We are closed. So what power do I have when I'm closed? so, so I think I.
No, but let's say again you said it's 10 weeks, but you have the power. You control the revenue which goes to the.
And so to be honest with you, that MAI appeal, Multiplex Association and Single Screen Cinemas, was an appeal. It's a request. It is not like a diktat. All we are saying is that the only if you want everything to, if you want to be long term in your thinking, if you want the industry to hit the road running, surveys are saying please have brand new movies when the cinemas do open up.
Yeah.
Show old content. China opened about in April, and they showed old content and they had to close down. South Korea is showing new content. It's got a robust local industry. Wherever new content is being showed, the entire US industry of 40,000 screens is now gearing up for Christopher Nolan's Tenet, because that's a brand new movie. So we were just, and there are too many people in India. You see, it's very fragmented.
Yes.
1,500 films, or let's say 1,000 films that they come. There are about 15,000 filmmakers. Okay, so why we had to come out with an appeal is it's individually not possible for exhibitors to talk to every single producer, because you have South, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, Punjabi, Marathi, Bengali. I mean, it's a myriad producers, whereas in America, you don't have to come up with an appeal like that because there are only 5 studios. You pick up the phone and talk to 5 or 6 studio heads and you put your message across. So the reason why we felt it will be more effective to just tell everybody that for commercial reasons, what I said earlier, that even a smaller movie, smaller when I say budget wise, the revenue streams of that smaller movie are much better monetized if it goes through the normal cycle of theatrical, OTT and broadcasting, TV, airlines, all that sort of stuff. For that reason. And second, it's in everybody's interest that suddenly this theatrical business gets kick-started if new movies come. So I think that's the only reason why we appealed, because we were hearing talks about movies going into the OTT platforms, smaller films. And so we thought, rather than having individual discussions with, I don't know how many people, why don't we just come out with an appeal? But nothing so far has gone to OTT.
While you look at growing your business and having a fundamentally strong business, again, coming back, don't you look at different kinds of diversifications? Because you are so well placed. You're like so well placed. Did you think about it? Are you thinking about it? Are we going to see more things from you?
As I said, any entrepreneur always has a choice either to diversify or to stick to one thing. So I was always fascinated by doing one thing and doing it very well. So whether it's Starbucks, whether it's McDonald's, so many companies around me, which I was fascinated by, Bharti Airtel. I thought, let's do one thing and do it very well. There are temptations. You can go on the content side. We did try to. We did try to go on the content side, which was when we did Tare Zameen Par, Jaane Tu Jaane Na. We did get into bowling centers, food courts. We still operate food courts. So there were some diversification, ideas that we had. But then we also realized that it's coming at the cost of our growth of our core business. Because whatever capital is available, that should be deployed in your core business, because the core business itself had a lot of potential in India. India only had 2,000, 3,000 new built multiplex screens. And if you look at China, it's got about 70,000 screens. US has got 40,000 screens. So we felt that there is a lot of upside in the brand growing in smaller towns, medium towns, urban centers, semi-urban. So therefore, we focused all our energies in just growing this business. After this episode, you never know. But currently, my thought is not to diversify. Currently, is to first make sure the ship gets steadied. So these are challenging times. First, I have to make sure that whatever I've got is something that should stay afloat. And you asked me about our financial management. We did a QIP of 500 crores in December. And in fact, we were paring our debt down
Yeah.
with that. And we did only 250, we pared down, 250 was still lying. So we've got reserves to take care of our this lockdown period for a couple of months more or whatever. Then after that, we can do some more financial planning because of various reasons. One reason, the brand is strong. We've always been good with our bankers, with our investors, with everybody. We've got two very important anchor investors, Renuka Ramnath, Warburg Pincus. They both own about 13% of the company, 12.5% of the company. We've got even the retail investors are very solid. Not too many people, even in this downside, have sold stock. We keep watching it, even though my stock has, of course, come down. And we've got a very strong management team. We've got very good relationships with our developers. And we believe that, given all these things, we should be able to, basically sail through. And then we can look at something. First is to just take care of what we've got. As I said, I've got some cinemas under fit out as well. I need to deliver all that. And then we can look at what the long-term plan. This will make everybody look at long-term plans. This will make everybody question at their business models. So we will question it. We will introspect. We will brainstorm. But what those answers are going to be, I don't know just now.
How have you done this? How strategically have you implemented it and not got it wrong and done a good job?
No, thank you. That's really, really kind of you. But really, as I said, I don't know how to answer this. Just to say that I still believe that core competence is important. If you do one thing, I think it makes you more. Your vision becomes more sharper, and have no compromise whatsoever in the quality of the team. We've got very high quality team. Decisions have been taken for the right reasons. There's never been any madness about screen count. Screen count has already happened on its own, but we've always been into unit level economics. That where do we build, whether it's a Sangam in Delhi or whether it is a Forum Koramangala in Bangalore or whether it's a VR Mall Chennai, wherever we build, Bombay, Phoenix Mills, Juhu, that are there enough people around that catchment to basically take care of the viability of the project that we're doing. So we've been very careful about our location strategy, cost strategy, and building these units in such a way that every unit is profitable. If the unit is not profitable, you can fall like a house of cards. So I think that's been one of the things in retrospect, these days you can't say 2020. I'm saying in retrospect, maybe that has worked. What has worked is a good set of investors. I've been very fortunate to get incredibly amazing guidance from people like Renuka, now Warburg. I've been very fortunate to have entrepreneurs like Sunil Mittal and who've been almost like mentors to me. I've always gone up to them to take their advice. I've been fortunate to have a very strong management team. So quality of people has been very important. Most of my top guys, key people are all CXOs are with me 10 years, 15 years now, and they've understood. So I said, once you go deep into something, I think you hopefully you'll be okay.
You felt something when you entered a PVR hall too. Did you consciously work on it?
Yeah, it just fell on. I mean, it didn't start off like with a very clear strategy, but as I moved along and gained some insights and knowledge into how Apple is built, or how Starbucks is built, how Tatas have handled their business, how Airtel has handled their business. So many inspirations were all around me. Then I felt that no, the brand has to be consistent and the brand has to stand for something. And so that made us very, very conscious about the fact that whether you're in Rourkela or whether you're in Nanded or Ujjain or Delhi or Bombay or Bangalore or Chennai or Hyderabad, we're in about 78 odd cities now. Yeah. So everywhere we service about 107, 110 million people. So we wanted to make sure that people have, it's an Indian brand. I mean, it had a joint venture long ago, but I was always fascinated by the consistency of the international brands, how they give in consumer interfacing businesses. So I felt that is something we should do. So we invested in standard operating procedures. We had to tweak the brand because India is not a one size fits all brand. So when we go to smaller towns, we want to make sure that it's PVR. Then we wanted one more audience, which had home theaters. So we created Director's Cut, Lux, Then we wanted also to have very large formats. So in Dwarka and Noida, where there was not too many cinemas at that time, we came out with superplexes, 15 screen complexes, 12 screen complexes. So I think as we went to different catchments and tried different formats, organically the prefix was PVR, but the suffixes kept getting created.
Yeah.
That let's have PVR Icon, PVR ECX, PVR Superplex, PVR Director's Cut. So like that, it just organically happened. I was fascinated by some hotel companies as well, like Hyatt, where you have your Hyatt Regency, Grand Hyatt, you have Andaz now, and you have Park Hyatt. So like that. So I said, why if there can be done in hospitality industry, it can be done in cinema industry as well.
If you have to say that in the coming years, some of the shifts, some of the opportunities that you see,
yeah,
what would those be?
Look, we've got 110 odd million people who come to our cinemas, and we have 20 million customers who are loyal to us, the privilege card members, and who are booking online and all that. I mean, they're all movie buffs, and they all have a certain profile. I think there is a business out there that can be done. As I said just now, we are trying to just steady our own ship. But before this happened, we were thinking that there is another business that can happen along the consumer base that we have got. But whatever we'll do, it'll have adjacency to the core business that we are doing. So that is something that can be done. Content has always been very close to us. But the trouble that I find is there's a lot of volatility in the content business. So our past experience has not been very good. But now again, content has come back with a bang. So let's see how this all plays out. And diversification, we've always stayed in this geography. I think India is a geography which we understand well, and because the kind of consumption habits of movie consumption habits in India which are there are nowhere in the world. So cricket and movies used to be the number one, number two, but now I'm finding that even cricket is both are coexisting. So even earlier IPL came, people didn't release movies. Now even if IPL is coming, people are still going ahead and releasing movies. And so I think we will continue to do our core only business, which is cinemas. But maybe alongside that, if there's a good opportunity of business that doesn't disrupt our core, only augments it, enhances it further, we'll end up doing that.
They're asking, so one question is, how is PVR going to pay its rents right now?
Well, there are three. First, I said, because we did the QIP and we have cash in the bank to take care of our for a few months. But at the same time, I think this lockdown period is something where we have requested the developers to understand the fact that it's not because of us that we are not doing any business. So, and we've got a very good response. As I said, we've been good. If I can say it myself, we've tried to be fair with every stakeholder. And one of our stakeholders has been developers, because we rent huge spaces from them. We put in a lot of money, and we also attract a lot of footfalls. So the whole irrigation of a mall does happen from cinema owners. So in a panel about 3 weeks ago, there was a webinar where Mr. Atul Ruia, who is the chairman of Phoenix, he said that we will be the concept of reasonableness, that everybody has to be reasonable, is what will happen. So I think from that point of view, we believe that lockdown period, we should get some reliefs. And then post-lockdown period, again, we are hoping to get some reliefs till such time business picks up.
Yeah. And also you have 15,000 people, right? 10,000 full-time, you mentioned, I read, and 5,000 contract workers. So right now you're not making any revenue. So the salaries...
I think unfortunately the off-roll people who are housekeeping, security, immediately we had to rescind those contracts, because if the cinemas are shut, you don't need housekeeping and security. But the rest, I mean, we'll have to look. We're asking for government support over there. But whatever we can do, we're doing. I'm very happy with the fact that our senior management has taken a 50% cut. So it's a balance of furloughing, cuts, and maybe some letting go if things don't improve. But if they open by July 1st, I think the damage will be less.
Okay. There's a question. PVR recently started 30% discount on gift cards. What other methods are you going to try to bring in cash during?
It was just some. Frankly, I don't know the numbers at all, but we just felt the like every company today is thinking what is it that they can do when they are closed. So I think in a brainstorming session while in the lockdown, they felt that if we sell the gift cards which have a validity, even when the cinemas open for I think 6 months or whatever, then people can redeem. It's not something that will generate a lot of revenue, but it keeps the brand going, and we are not out of sight, out of mind, and maybe some transactions as well.
How do you keep yourself going?
The biggest setback ever in my life was when my dad passed away in '92. So for me, that person loss was the biggest loss. I was only 25 years old, and I took over the reins of the business. After that, I've always felt that maybe it's the challenges of a business cannot bog you down. They cannot bog you down. You have to take them head on. So I always get very, very charged up whenever I find situations like this. So I've had a few situations. '94, we had a big fire in my trucking company, and I don't know, I just didn't want to look bogged down and like the world is, we lost a lot of money. We didn't have that kind of money at that time. But everybody, even my wife, my mom, my brother, they were saying, Ajit, are you okay? I say, yeah, I'm fine. There's nothing I can do about it, but I have to deal with it. There are people who need to be paid because they lost a lot of goods. Fortunately, nobody passed away. Nothing happened like that. No human. So like that, there've been a lot of eventualities. A long story. I won't bore everybody that have happened. But I've always liked to take things when they are challenging positively, because it's a challenge. You have to face it, because this is the true test of being at the helm of affairs of a company. I've got good people. I've got investors. And I can't grow a beard like this and look bogged down. So I get up in the morning, I do my workouts, I do my activities like singing and all. I'm very happy with my kids are with me, and my daughters, my son who is studying, my mom is with me, my brother is with me, my wife is with me. So all of us, I work, of course, I have to be in touch with my entire team, strategize what we should be doing. But I'm playing my sport, going to the gym, and just enjoying, staying positive.